SLS AMG Coupé Black Series Mercedes-Benz. Beautiful, timeless, luxurious. These words all come to mind when most people think of Mercedes-Benz. One word that doesn't always come to mind, however, is fast, and that's a shame. Mercedes-Benz has around since cars began running on gas. That's 130 years and counting, if you're keeping score, and has been at the forefront of automotive performance nearly every step of the way. In the 1920s and 30s, its supercharged roadsters and aerodynamic racers were trailblazers in Europe. After World War II, it triumphantly returned to racing in the 1950s before a horrific 1955 crash at Le Mans led to the automaker pulling out of competition and performance cars for decades. In the 1980s, the company returned to the races thanks to help from tuner AMG. The aftermarket company was bought by Benz in the 90s, and since then, it's been making up for lost time. In recent years, Mercedes has been dominating Formula One. Its AMG cars are some of the best performance cars on the road, and its offerings seem to get faster and more luxurious with each passing year. Here, we've listed out some of the fastest Mercedes of all time, and unsurprisingly, many of them are still in production. We've left out concept cars, one-offs, and third-party modified vehicles, things like Brabus or Mansory. As a side note, we ranked them by 0 to 60 times, because some of the heavier performance models are actually slower to the mark than smaller and more nimble offerings. With that in mind, here are the 18 fastest production Mercedes of all time. 18. 2017 Mercedes-AMG GLE 63S. Mercedes-AMG GLE 63S. Mercedes-Benz. While the standard GLE is a comfortable and well-built luxury SUV, the GLE 63S is one of the quickest people movers in the world. With a 5.5-liter twin-turbo V8 under the hood, the GLE 63S has 577 horsepower on tap and can make the 0 to 60 sprint in just 4.1 seconds. Other AMG modifications mean that the SUV far better than you'd expect by just looking at it. 17. 2017 Mercedes-AMG CLA 45. Mercedes-AMG CLA 45. Mercedes-Benz matching the GLE 63S. Straight-line speed is one of the least loved members of the Mercedes lineup. The bargain basement class hasn't done much to excite the Mercedes faithful, but in the hands of AMG, it gets a near 175 horsepower boost. With 375 horses and 350 pound-feet of torque from the 2.0-liter turbo, the CLA 45 is one hell of a performance car. 0 to 60 comes in just 4.1 seconds. 16. 2008 CLK 63 Black Series. 2008 Mercedes-Benz CLK 63 AMG Black Series. Mercedes-Benz. On paper, the CLK Black Series is a muscle car. At least, it follows the same formula: a big honkin' V8 up front, hard fender arches, and a low, wide stance. Only in the 2008, specifically, the CLK Black Series had 500 horsepower and 485 pound-feet of torque to play with, enough to catapult at 60 in about 4.0 seconds, and a 186 mph governed top speed, though really at that speed, it's probably more about preserving the engine's internals than the driver's. 15. 2017 Mercedes-AMG C63S. Mercedes-AMG C63S. Mercedes-Benz. When most casual gearheads think about compact German sports sedans, they think of one car, the BMW M3. And you know what led them think that it'll only lead to more embarrassed Bimmer drivers. Because the Red Hot C-Class packs a 503 horsepower, 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 that takes the four-door from a standstill to 60 in 3.9 seconds, 0.1 second faster than the M3. 14. 2017 Mercedes-AMG SL65. Mercedes-AMG SL63. Mercedes-Benz. While the legendary SL-Class doesn't quite occupy the top of the Mercedes lineup like it used to, the SL65 is all business. Utilizing a 6.0-liter twin-turbo V12 that makes 621 horsepower and 738 pound-feet of torque, this hardtop convertible rockets from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3.9 seconds, and onto a limited top speed of 186 miles per hour. 13. 2017 Mercedes-AMG S63. Mercedes-Benz S63 AMG. Mercedes-Benz. Did you know that the range-topping S-Class is the twin-turbo V12-powered AMG S65? Here's something that may surprise you: for nearly $75,000 less, it's $144,000, but still, you can get the twin-turbo V8-powered S63, which is less powerful, but actually faster. Despite being down 4 cylinders and 44 horsepower and 74 pound-feet of torque, the S63's 577 ponies and 664 pound-feet of torque are nothing to sneeze at. With all-wheel drive and all of the advanced features this class has to offer, help take the car from 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds. That's 0.3 seconds quicker than the heavier, more powerful S6512. 2004 Mercedes CLK DTM 2004 Mercedes-Benz CLK DTM AMG Mercedes-Benz. It's safe to say that Mercedes had a lot of fun with the CLK class while it was around. The CLK DTM was a 100-car homologation special built in conjunction with Mercedes-AMG's racing partner HWA GmbH for the German Deutsche Tourenwagen Masters DTM Racing Series. If those huge fended flares don't tell you anything, it churns out 582 horsepower from its 5.5-liter supercharged V8. That's enough to send it to 60 in 3.8 seconds, and the top speed was limited to 211. 2009 Mercedes SLR McLaren 2009 Mercedes-Benz SLR McLaren Mercedes-Benz. The Mercedes SLR McLaren was essentially a street-legal showcase for Mercedes Formula One technology, and as such, packed a 617 horsepower, 575 pound-foot, supercharged V8. Developed with then racing partner McLaren, the SLR utilized racing tech like a carbon fiber body shell and lightweight ceramic brakes. Production ended when McLaren decided to focus on street cars of its own, but by then, the SLR was already a legend. Top speed was 206 miles per hour, and 62 came up in just 3.8 seconds. 10. 1999 Mercedes CLK GTR Mercedes-Benz CLK GTR Mercedes-Benz. In the 90s, Mercedes got back to racing in a big way. And in an uncharacteristically un-Mercedes move, it sold 26 fairly street-legal versions of its CLK GTR endurance racer for homologation purposes. Built to compete in the GT1 class at races like the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the road-ready CLK GTRs were powered by a 6.9-liter V12 engine, producing 604 horsepower and 572 pound-feet of torque. The race cars used a 6.0-liter V12. This allowed the car to nail 60 from a standstill in just 3.8 seconds, before reaching a terminal speed of 199 miles per hour. 9. 2017 Mercedes-AMG S63 Mercedes-Benz S63 AMG Mercedes-Benz. Like the Schlaf sedan, the twin-turbo V8-powered coupe is actually quicker than the top dog V12 by 0.3 seconds. The same 577 ponies and 664 pound-feet of torque are on tap here, and that's enough to rocket the big coupe from 0 to 60 in just 3.8 seconds. And if hardtops aren't your thing, the S63 Cabriolet puts up identical numbers. 8. 2014 Mercedes C63 Edition 507 Mercedes-Benz C63 AMG Edition 507 Mercedes-Benz. It may be a few years old, but the C63 Edition 507 is still scary impressive. The coupe, which had, not surprisingly, 507 horsepower, made the 0 to 60 sprint in 3.6 seconds at the hands of car and driver, besting Mercedes' own 4.1 second 0 to 60 projection. 7. 2017 Mercedes-AMG GTS Mercedes-AMG GTS Mercedes-Benz. Since 2014, the AMG GT has been Mercedes' Porsche 911 slayer. With classic long hood short deck proportions, it looks the part. And with a 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 cranking out 503 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque, it's fast as hell too. 0 to 60 comes in a scant 3.7 seconds. 6. 2014 Mercedes-AMG SLS GT Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG GT Mercedes-Benz. The SLS AMG was Mercedes' first production car designed by the AMG team, and it didn't disappoint. Like a brutally modern update of the classic 50 Sarah 300 SL, the gull-winged SLS GT had a 6.2-liter V8 which in its final iteration cranked out 583 horses and 479 pound-feet of torque. The end result was an impressively fast 3.6 second 0 to 60 sprint and a top speed of around 197 miles per hour. 5. 2007 Mercedes SLR McLaren 722 Mercedes-Benz SLR McLaren 722 Mercedes-Benz. With the Mercedes SLR McLaren 722, the Mercedes-McLaren team actually found a way to shorten the already meager gap between the standard SLR and an F1 car. The 641 horsepower supercharged car was named after the number on Sir Sterling Moss' Mercedes 300 SLR when he won the 1955 Mille Miglia. Coincidentally, that race also started at 7:22 a.m. Only 150 examples of the commemorative car were built, and with a top speed of 209 miles per hour and a 3.6-second 0 to 60 time, it remains one of the fastest Mercedes of all time. 4. 2017 Mercedes-AMG CLS 63S4 MATIC Mercedes-Benz CLE 63 AMG Mercedes-Benz sportier and smaller than this class, though still a sedan regardless of how Mercedes markets it. The CLS is largely responsible for ushering in the four-door coupe craze that reigns supreme today. And once AMG gets a hold of the current car, it becomes one of the fastest four-doors in the world. With its 5.5-liter twin-turbo cranking out 577 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque, the CLS 63S sends all that power to all four wheels for a 3.5-second 0 to 60 sprint. 3. 2015 Mercedes-AMG E63S Mercedes-AMG E63S Mercedes-Benz The E63S is a thing of the past for now, but that doesn't make it any less great. Its twin-turbo V8 made a whopping 577 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque, and it could make the jaunt to 60 in just 3.5 seconds. What's more, you could get all this power as a station wagon too, with a new E-Class hitting the streets for 2017. The top dog is the 396-horse E43 sedan. With the current car better in every way over the old one, we're holding our breath for the next-gen E63, which should arrive as a 2018 model. 2. 2009 Mercedes SLR Sterling Moss 3.5 2009 Mercedes-Benz SLR Sterling Moss Mercedes-Benz take the aforementioned SLR 722. Remove everything unnecessary, the windshield, the passenger seat, any creature comforts and safety equipment you wouldn't mind missing. Jack up the price by nearly a factor of 2, and you have what is essentially the SLR Sterling Moss, named for the famed British racing driver who helped take Mercedes to the top of the racing world in the 1950s, and inspired by the nonsense cars he drove. Built as the swan song for the Mercedes-McLaren partnership, only 75 units were made. Top speed was 217 miles per hour again, without a windshield, and 0 to 60 came in 3.5 seconds. 1. 2014 Mercedes-AMG SLS Black Series 2014 SLS AMG Coupé Black Series Mercedes-Benz The Black Series label is reserved for Mercedes performance models that are even more bonkers than AMG models, and as far as sheer insanity goes, the SLS AMG Black Series is the craziest thing the German brand has ever put into production. With a top speed of 196, there have been faster Mercedes. But with a 3.2-second 0 to 60 time, there has never been another production mark that can beat that mark. Just a few hundred of the 622 horsepower supercars were built, and sold at around $250,000 each. If you're looking for one today, you'll likely end up paying more than that.